Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Loronda Inspires Greatness Podcast. I'm your host, Loronda C. Giddens. Today's episode is titled, Do It Afraid. Last year I celebrated 20 years in Atlanta. I thought about where I would be if I never left Florida. I would probably be still working in a corporate job and hanging out with my friends on the weekend, but as life would have it, I was led in a different direction. I came to Atlanta on a business trip in 1998 and fell in love with the vibe and energy of the city. We ended up taking our clients out to dinner that night. We went to Houston's in Dunwoody. It's a little suburban city right outside the perimeter of Atlanta. I fell in love with Dunwoody and wondered what it would be like to live here. It reminded me so much of the city I lived in Florida. A few days after returning home, I couldn't stop thinking about Atlanta. Relocation was crossing my mind over and over again, but then, per usual, fear reared its ugly head. I wasn't afraid of leaving Florida. I was afraid of fitting in when I got to Atlanta. I had this perception that everyone here was well educated with several degrees. I knew I could hold my own in any conversation, but the fear of not having my college degree just kind of lingered and hung over my head. Not having a college degree never really hindered me in my growth in the corporate sector. I moved up the ladder and held several management positions. So after a few days, I decided to check the newspaper to see if I could find a job that was comparable to what I was doing in Florida. As life would have it, a position for a senior relationship manager in the financial services industry became available. I sent my resume and they called me within a few hours to see if I would be interested in coming to Atlanta on an interview. I said yes. They sent a plane ticket. I hopped on the plane and came to Atlanta for the interview, and the rest is history. Now imagine just for a moment, if I hadn't followed my instinct to even look for a job, I would still be living in Florida. If I allowed my fear of not having my college degree stop me, I would still be living in Florida. My desire to be in Atlanta was way stronger than my fear. I did it afraid. I didn't know anyone here, but I moved anyway. That didn't even bother me one bit. Oftentimes we want everything to be perfectly aligned before we step out on faith. If you're waiting for everything to be perfect, that moment will never come. Fear can be crippling and leave you in a constant state of inaction where you're always second guessing yourself. I recently facilitated a vision board workshop and noticed one of the participants had put a pair of red lips on her vision board. I inquired about the red lips and she smiled so brightly and said, "I love doing makeup. So much so that I do it for free for anybody who asks me." Now, being the person that I am, I said, if you love it that much, why not monetize it? Why don't you do a YouTube channel or just charge a nominal fee? I mean, who doesn't want to have multiple streams of income? Her smile disappeared and a look of sadness suddenly came across her face. She said, "You know what, Loronda, I had a YouTube channel doing makeup tutorials, but I took it down." And I asked, "Why would you take it down if you're doing something that you love?" She said, "I got scared because I didn't think that people would like it." She then talked about her aspirations of writing a book. I talked to her about self-publishing and getting someone to illustrate her book. Even with the support of her husband, she still had her doubts. And her husband chimed in and said she could illustrate her own books if she wanted to because she's such a great artist. Before they left, I gave her a pep talk about how she could help others with her gifts by teaching them what she knows. People are waiting for all of us to show up. We have extraordinary gifts to share. Don't be afraid. And even if you are afraid, do it anyway, because I see greatness in you. I see greatness in you. Thank you so much for listening to Loronda Inspires Greatness Podcast, and I'm your host, Loronda C. Giddens. Connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn by searching my name, but the best way to find me is through my website at www.lorondacgiddens.com. I'll see you next time, everybody.